From fried chicken served at the White House table to a president who couldn't stop snacking on jelly beans, America's leaders had some truly surprising favorites. These weren't gourmet dishes from fancy chefs, but the comfort foods and classic American meals that shaped their daily lives. The same kinds of dishes many of us know and love. In this countdown, we'll explore 25 beloved American foods our presidents couldn't resist. Some may feel nostalgic, others will surprise you. And wait until you hear which president had the sweetest tooth of them all: jelly beans. Colorful, chewy, and full of sugar, jelly beans aren't just candy, they're little pieces of nostalgia. Ronald Reagan always had jars of them nearby, but they weren't just for a sweet tooth. He first leaned on them while trying to quit smoking, turning candy into a coping trick. By his inauguration in 1981, over 3 tons of jelly beans had been shipped in, making them part of political history. His favorite flavor? Licorice, of course. Simple, colorful, and addicting, jelly beans prove that sometimes the quirkiest snacks carry the biggest stories. Be honest, what's your favorite jelly bean flavor? Is it licorice like Reagan or something sweeter? Grilled cheese sandwiches. Melted cheese binding golden crusts. Grilled cheese gave melted fluff to the ultimate Depression comfort food. It was cheap, filling, and simple, keeping families warm on a cold day. Franklin D. Roosevelt enjoyed grilled cheese so much that he made it a steadfast of his White House, teaching us all that even the highest tier of society relied on simple comfort. No matter where it's served, fancy table or diner counter, grilled cheese remains the go-to American breakfast and late-night snack. What about you? Do you still make grilled cheese at home? Or does it remind you of your childhood? Tenderloin with Jezebel sauce. This meal has personality. The robust combination of pineapple, apple, horseradish, and black pepper in the Jezebel sauce gave the tenderloin a fiery sweet punch that went well with it. This kind of flavor fusion was daring, even scandalous, in contrast to the common food of the 19th century. It was approved by Andrew Jackson, adding a touch of the South to the presidential table. The sauce was as humorous as it was authoritative, as its name implies. By the way, if you're enjoying these presidential food favorites, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps us bring you more nostalgic stories like this. French vanilla ice cream. Thomas Jefferson was an early American who loved ice cream before there were ice cream trucks or store tubs. He brought French-style vanilla ice cream back to the United States after his trip to Paris, even writing the country's first known documented recipe for it. It was a hit right away since it was creamy, decadent, and unusual for its time. In addition to enjoying it, Jefferson contributed to the establishment of ice cream as a quintessential American dessert. Corn cakes. Rustic, filling, and built on America's favorite grain, corn cakes were Abraham Lincoln's comfort food. They were made with cornmeal, eggs, and milk, and they cooked quickly while remaining filling for extended periods of time. Lincoln's family used to make jokes about how fast he ate them, as though they vanished in the blink of an eye. Corn cakes were simple, golden circles that evoked farm life and thrift, and that was part of their allure. They continue to be a mainstay of Midwestern and Southern dinners, tying contemporary kitchens to the simplicity of Lincoln's era. Do corn-based dishes like this remind you of your own family dinners? Sauerkraut. Sharp, tangy, and bursting with flavor, sauerkraut was one of the first ethnic foods to make it onto the presidential menu. Made of fermented cabbage, it carried Old World tradition right into American kitchens. James Buchanan enjoyed it at a time when many households were still wary of strong foreign flavors. It wasn't just a side dish. It was an embrace of cultural exchange. Sauerkraut is as useful as it is delicious, as a bite of it slashes through rich foods. From simple crock jars to fine dining menus, it continues to be a meal that unites flavor and heritage. Have you ever made sauerkraut yourself? Or do you prefer it straight from a jar? Cheeseburger pizza. 2 American icons combined on one plate. Cheeseburger pizza is exactly what it sounds like, Juicy ground beef, melted cheese, pickles, and sauce, all layered on a pizza crust. It's playful, indulgent, and a little over the top, which made it a favorite for George W. Bush. But he wasn't settling for greasy takeout. He had White House chefs whip it up from scratch. The dish is pure Americana, part fast food, part comfort food, and entirely fun. Proof that sometimes the best meals don't take themselves too seriously. Spoon bread. Spoon bread is a soft, custard-like cornbread dish that's more airy than the dense loaves we know today. Made with cornmeal, milk, eggs, and butter, it's baked until it has a pudding-like center that requires a spoon to serve. Legend has it, the dish was accidentally invented in Monroe's kitchen when cooks experimented with cornmeal mush and ended up with something between bread and souffle. This dish quickly became a Southern favorite, a nod to Monroe's Virginia roots, and a perfect example of just how versatile cornmeal was in early American kitchens. Squirrel stew. Squirrel stew was a staple on the frontier in the early 19th century. Simple root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, and onions were used to boil squirrel flesh. Sometimes they'd toss in a bit of flour to thicken it up and add herbs to tone down the strong gamey flavor. For homesteading families in the frontier, squirrels were an easy-to-find and essential food source. To appeal to average Americans, William Henry Harrison served this hearty dish during his campaign rallies, Virginia ham. Virginia ham is known for its distinct flavor because it is made using a traditional salt curing method and is slowly smoked over hickory wood. The meat, usually from heritage breeds, develops a salty sweet flavor over months that was highly prized in the South. James Madison frequently served it at parties because he saw it as a true Virginia delicacy. Preparation involved soaking the cured ham to remove excess salt before roasting or boiling. This labor-intensive method produced a rich, flavorful centerpiece that symbolized Southern pride and hospitality. Callus, fried rice dumplings. Callus are sweet, deep-fried cakes made primarily of cooked rice mixed with flour, sugar, eggs, and spices such as nutmeg or cinnamon. The batter used may be flavored with yeast and were more than likely light to permit the fried dough to be shaped as small cakes, like beignets, that were fried until golden and dusted with powdered sugar. Callus were popular in New Orleans and, like beignets, sold on the street corners for breakfast or a snack. Zachary Taylor, who became fond of them during his time in Louisiana, supposedly ate them almost every day despite their density. Filet-o-fish. A breaded white fish patty, usually pollock, is served on a steamed bun with tartar sauce and a slice of processed cheese in the 1960s. Fast food classic known as the filet-o-fish. It has been a McDonald's mainstay for decades because it is straightforward, salty, and filling. Donald Trump, famously fond of fast food, preferred this humble sandwich to elaborate gourmet dishes. He liked its consistency, always the same taste, no matter where it was ordered. While not exactly a heritage recipe, the filet-o-fish reflects Trump's unapologetic embrace of modern convenience food. New England fish chowder. In New England fish chowder, pieces of fresh white fish or clams are combined with diced potatoes, onions, and salt pork or bacon for richness. Chowder has a creamy mouthfeel because it is often mixed with milk or cream. Kennedy, who openly embraced his Massachusetts lineage, loved the chowder so much, it became synonymous with his public story. Chowder represented coastal New England's robust, fresh, and uncomplicated traditions. Chowder is typically accompanied by bread or oyster crackers, and much like many of the other menu items, barbecue, beef, and pork. In Texas, barbecue is more of a ritual than a recipe, and Johnson made it a presidential dining experience. He preferred hog and beef brisket that had been pit-smoked, seasoned with dry rubs, then cooked slowly over mesquite wood until it was tender. Tangy, spicy, or tomato-based barbecue sauces were frequently offered alongside the food. In order to introduce guests to real Texas barbecue, LBJ would bring famous pitmasters to the White House. It was more than just cuisine. It was a cultural statement that highlighted the robust tastes of his native state. Ham and cornbread. During Polk's time, ham and cornmeal were a simple yet incredibly filling Southern staple. In contrast to cornbread, which was cooked with pounded cornmeal, buttermilk, eggs, and a small amount of lard and baked in cast iron skillets for a golden crust. Ham was frequently salt-cured and pan-fried or roasted. It was a Southern favorite because of the way the crumbly, slightly sweet bread complemented the salty richness of the ham, pot roast with red cabbage. Gerald Ford's fondness for substantial, straightforward comfort food was a reflection of his Midwestern upbringing. According to his presidential library, one of his top 5 favorite dinners was pot roast, served with tart red cabbage. The juicy, tender, slow-braised beef, along with the mildly sweet vinegar cabbage, is the dish which embodies the rustic, elemental character of Michigan cuisine. Home-cooked meals were an emotional constant, even while Ford was in the White House. He had grown up eating them. It wasn't fancy fine dining. Corn on the cob. Rutherford B. Hayes had a simple but serious obsession. Corn. From fritters to soups, it was served in every form possible, but corn on the cob was his true favorite. Butter-slathered, steaming cobs were a staple at the Hayes White House table, to the point where staff joked that the kitchen practically ran on corn. It was a humble dish compared to other presidential favorites, but it reflected Hayes's down-to-earth tastes and Ohio upbringing. Caramel tomatoes. Herbert Hoover's favorite dish might raise eyebrows today. Caramel tomatoes. Ripe tomatoes were baked with sugar until blistered and syrupy, creating a sweet-sour flavor combination that was uniquely Depression-era comfort food. Though unconventional to modern palates, Hoover loved them so much that his White House chef created a special recipe just for him. This dish reflected both his adventurous taste and the frugal, resourceful cooking style of the era. Red flannel hash. Red flannel hash, a substantial breakfast consisting of mashed potatoes, onions, and vibrant red beets, was how William McKinley began his days. Because the beet juice gave everything a rose hue that resembled an old-fashioned flannel shirt, the dish gained its name. According to McKinley, this New England mainstay was satisfying, useful, and cozy, the epitome of American dining in the late 19th century. More than just a breakfast, it served as a link to history and provided the energy required to meet the responsibilities of the presidency. Chicken enchiladas. Bill Clinton's Arkansas upbringing shaped his lifelong love of Southern and Southwestern food, with chicken enchiladas at the top of his list. Soft tortillas filled with seasoned chicken, smothered in a rich sauce, and baked to perfection. It was indulgent, yet still light enough to win his doctor's approval as a protein source. Above all, Clinton's preference for the dish demonstrated how Tex-Mex food has influenced American culture more broadly. Cornbread with sorghum. Harry Truman, proud of his Missouri roots, famously preferred cornbread drizzled with sorghum syrup over the fancy 5-star meals White House chefs tried to serve. Cornbread was a straightforward, golden, and satisfying food that felt familiar. The sorghum, a viscous syrup akin to molasses, added an earthiness and a sweetness that tempered the savory bread. Truman's strong devotion to this dish reflected his simple life and Midwestern principles. Hasty pudding, hoe cakes. George Washington's breakfast table was never complete without hoe cakes, also called hasty pudding, cornmeal pancakes fried until golden, then often topped with honey or syrup. These simple cakes became so much associated with him that people gave them the nickname Washington's breakfast. As the first president of America, Washington's tastes and preferences reflected traditional colonial staples, cornmeal being a diet fixture. For Washington, they were more than food. They were a part of his daily ritual that brought comfort to an already tumultuous situation in the world. Cottage cheese. One strange item that made Richard Nixon famous was cottage cheese. He consumed it so frequently, often with melon or pineapple, that reporters made fun of it and even wrote satirical poems about it. Nixon liked it, because it was convenient, light, and high in protein, making it easy to eat on hectic days. Other presidents ate sophisticated spreads, but Nixon found solace in this humble, straightforward dish. It represented his modest and work-oriented way of life, which contrasted sharply with the opulence of the office he occupied, according to many. Chili. Chili is a well-known favorite food of Barack Obama's, and he often made it himself. He had his secret recipe from his also undergrad years and took it during his presidency to make hearty, warm, and spicy dinners. Obama's chili was able to provide the right amount of warmth and flavor by being about to balance ground meat, beans, and spices. The very fact that he could make it from start to finish rather than most presidential favorites that require a whole culinary staff demonstrated his down-to-earth personage. Do you have your own secret chili recipe at home? From grilled cheese to chili, these dishes prove that behind the big speeches and historic moments, presidents were just people with cravings like the rest of us. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, please give this video a like, subscribe for more classic food stories, and share your favorite retro dish in the comments. I'd love to read them.